Hello, hello, everybody. Here we have Tony Conway, founder of Vale Das Lobas, a regeneration village in Beira Alta, Portugal, that will open to the public later in this year, right, Tony?
Yeah, that's correct. Thanks,
And
Keith. Nice to be here.
we thank you to be here and to have this interview with us.
Mm.
And I start by asking you, you were on the last edition of the gathering, and that was the only one. We're at
Yeah,
the
that was the only one so far.
Okay.
Mm.
So I would love to start our conversation with the question, what impact did the gathering have on your organization and your work as well? Did it result in any new projects or relationships?
Mm. Thanks. Well, of course, it's quite early days, but I would say that the gathering, for us, I experienced that as a cauldron of possibilities. There were a lot of people there. We had a lot of conversations. We met many people, a lot of inspiration, great chats, and hearing what other people are up to is incredibly valuable. You go away with a great sense that you're not alone with your dreams, your visions, that you are really working within a network and within a group. And so that was the real giveaway, the takeaway from the gathering was that sense of network.
Okay, great. And what kind of connections did you make? Can you share any stories with us?
Yeah, well, within the time there, of course, I spoke to many people and even took contact details from quite a lot. But the ones that really stand out, and I would say have projects already advancing that we can formally have some kind of network with, included a really lovely connection with Mauricio from Fractal, with Evgenia from Eternal Forest, with Inga from the Umama group in Madeira, Harry, who's got his innate group. There was Nadia. That was very exciting to find out about her initiative called the Freedomville Boutique Resort.
Ah, Nadia, I get to know her
Yeah.
also. Yeah.
And also Susanna. Wow, that Reflorestal Portugal project.
Reflorestar Portugal. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I
Suzanne.
mean that was dynamic and exciting, and I'm still looking forward to come on, Susanna, make your way over here to Val das Lobas and have a look at
Cool,
our
cool.
forest and see
Yeah,
what we can do together. Yeah.
I get to know Susanna too. It's
So
good to see younger persons so passionate about the
yeah, exactly.
that.
And what I felt was that there's a lot of up and coming other people doing interesting things as well. And a big part of this is, as a community, is to provide encouragement, support, mentoring, and that was something I felt that was going on there.
Great.
Mm.
And how did the gathering vision, as you know, is to build a regenerative ecosystem of collaboration? And the question is, how much do you think this was done? Like, how can the design be changed to do this even better?
Now that's a tricky question because the truth of it is that gathering just for a few days doesn't create a real ongoing or kind of supportive, nourishing network. There is a lot more to do if that's the goal. If the goal is to create a real network so that people working in the regenerative and spiritual environment can actually begin to link together and find sustenance and encouragement and support from each other, then there needs to be a little bit more in between time. And there needs to be a little bit more thinking about, well, what are we actually, what is this community? How are we going about it? Now, the gathering may not be aiming to achieve that. It may simply be a place to go to once every 2 years, in which case I think it fulfilled that objective. But even in that sense, we could look at kind of what are the goals, and there's always room for improvement, of course.
Of course. And that's always good because it means
Absolutely.
the story keep
Absolutely.
going.
So when you say how can the design be changed to do it better, well, um, there are two issues here. One is how could we be better at providing this ecosystem for collaboration? That's a more ongoing, sustainable, resilient organizational structure that would be needed. But if we're saying, how do we create a gathering that really is a single point moment for people, old friends, new friends, to come together and share ideas? Well, that's a different question. And so I think first thing one needs to know, and I don't know, but what the intention really is. Is it to provide that ongoing ecosystem, in which case it would need more meetings and workshopping and opportunities in between the 2 years, because 2 years is a very long time, especially in the time scale that we're living in at the moment. So I won't go ahead of myself, though. You've got some other questions.
Okay, thank you, Tony. And I don't know if it's gonna be 2 years. At least there's an interview with by Victor with Evgenia, and in the end, like this kind of maybe opportunity to have it this year. I don't know if here in Portugal, but maybe they're gonna do every year. We still don't know. We're trying to. Even
Mm.
so, I would like to know as well what parts of the experience went well, which should be improved, and how.
Well, I feel very strongly that if we're creating a community, or at least we're, if you like, activating the existing community, which is out here in the field in Portugal and in the rest of Europe, of like-minded, like-hearted people who are singing the song of ecology and peace and trying to live in harmony with nature and looking at ways that we can actually create real projects that inspire and encourage and provide hope, and how we can support each other. If we're aiming to do that, then we really need to be very focused on the family dynamic and having children within that group, because children are the future. And unless we have encouraged people who have children who are working in this field to feel welcomed into this kind of group, then we're excluding an important, a very essential component. So I would say designing it to be very family friendly, designing it to be very work oriented, but with play spaces so that children can be supported. So you have play workers, creches, play spaces, but really workshop environment, and even thinking from the start so people can sign up to join into stuff while they're there, where they feel they have a gift to contribute, and then to go and be not just be presented to, but to participate in an interactive environment. Now, that means a little bit different way of organizing, but I would say that would be a movement in the direction that would encourage full participation.
Amazing, amazing vision, Tony. Thank you for that. And so, what are your project needs, and how can the gathering support you in that?
I think we felt very, encouraged and supported by the meetings with the people I've mentioned, and there are many more besides, because when you start networking through each portal, each opening, come others, because everybody has their own circle. So I think what it did for me personally is it helped me to recognize the importance. I've had my head down working for the last few years, building an extraordinary environment, this regeneration village. It's been a lot of construction work. It's working with architects and builders and activists of all kind. And we're in the transition point now where we're beginning to gather the healers, the inspirers, the project leaders, the workshop teachers, so that we can bring everything together, and then the public, people from the outer network, can all come here to gain orientation, support, access to the kinds of things that I think we're all inspired to want to live by. So yeah, the gathering was a point where I could see how valuable it really is to already be reaching out and creating that network. And I think I've shifted my perspective slightly, and I'm already giving more attention to who else is there, what they're doing, what kind of activities they're up to, how can we help them, what can we share with them, and what can they bring to us, and thinking more in terms of the wider story. Because in a project, you've got all your concerns that you have for your own development, financial concerns, structural concerns, employment issues, legal issues. Those are all very, very important. They can easily be your full-time occupation. But actually, what we're all doing in this ecosystem, as you call it, is only as valuable as strong as we can network with each other, because we need to make a global impact, and that will happen through resonance. When people and groups are connecting with each other all around Portugal and all around the world, and they don't all have to have the same ideology and the same belief, they just all need to have a good heart and a connection with nature and a desire to make sure that we don't lose this absolutely essential component of our humanity. And that's what drives us, and that's what bonds us. So I found the gathering very heartening in that respect, to encourage, to discover so many wonderful people, and so many younger people who are coming into this thinking. I'd like to see that continue.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, assuming the gathering will happen only every 2 years, what do you think the gathering organization could do in between these in-person gatherings?
Well, again, this would take us back to the question of what is its real goal. I think it needs to, probably already knows, but I haven't been informed about what its intent really is. Does it wish to be a kind of holding or kind of supportive organization for the upcoming movement of regenerative, sustainable, spiritual, and evolutionary impulses that are happening within the rural landscape and within the social and community movements within Portugal? We need to have a very holistic perspective. We need to be inclusive. We need to make sure that all people are included, as long as I said, they have the right fundamental perspective. But if that is the goal for the gathering, it does need to do a lot more in between, because it will just be hopping then from one event to another. And 2 years, like I say, is a very long time in the current speed of change that's going on in the world in this particular issue, even. I can't even imagine where we'll be in 2 years from now in terms of global politics and social and cultural changes. There may even be an economic meltdown by then. We are expecting it within the next 5 years. So if we are really going into a vortex of deep transformation, then it's essential that all the people who are trying to work together for preserving nature, for connecting with nature, for holding the vision for a better world, that those people need to feel supported by each other. And the gathering could be an important way, a holding space for that support to be maintained. So I don't know how it can be achieved. I'd be happy personally to be in that conversation with the organizers about how that could be achieved. It's up to, I'd love to hear more as we go along, but I do think it needs more meeting spaces, more activities for this very purpose.
Okay. So maybe a solution would be to have another gathering between those 2 years
That's one
and
thing,
make
but
it
like I
annual.
say, I think smaller gatherings where people are where more intimate and more and where people can actually meet each other more fully in a different way. Because the big event is really great, but it has a certain vibration to it. In fact, this one was quite oriented around people celebrating, and celebration is natural and important. Um, but if if you're staying up late at night dancing and partying, that's a different vibration, a different feel to when people are really in a working environment. And I don't mean it like corporate work, but in a way where you're really coming together to brainstorm, to imagine solutions, to tackle questions. And I think that there is a space for the smaller group get together as well. And once you've got an organization that can do a big group, well, it's not hard to then to every so often have some talk shops where the people who are in the big group can actually gather together. Maybe they can even self-organize those things. But to have a holding uh, organization for this is something that we could use in Portugal. Thank you for
Okay,
that.
cool. Amazing, Tony. So we really appreciate your contribute. So once again, we had Tony Conway, founder of Vale Das Lobas. As I said, the regeneration village in Beira Alta, Portugal, that will open to the public later in 2025. Do you would like to add something about this public so it's still building your project? That's it?
Yeah, we're 70% completed on the building of our nature spa, which is a 17th century solar,
Oh, wow.
which will have 23 bedrooms and be available for healing retreats and corporate wellness experiences. It has a medicine garden with 300 botanical plants that will be planted and an extraordinary chestnut forest. That's will be next year. But later this year, we have the opening of our restaurant, which is 95% completed now. And that is in an old Lagar de Ribera, where we've converted the old milling system, taking the water from the river, now makes hydroelectricity. We
Wow.
built it from natural materials, including compressed earth blocks. It's a large space, a venue, as well as it will have music events and many things. And around it is a glamping environment, so we can have gatherings up to 100 people. That will be open later this year. That's the part that's due to open very soon.
So if you allowed me, I would like to finish our conversation with a small introductions of myself. I'm Guy, and I'm launching the ECCOS channel in March this year, very soon. I'm just finished my fundraising action, and everything is going quite well. And I make myself invited if you like me to go and start to make this kind of storytelling. My project is all about to go and meet others dreamers. So I am a dreamer. I want to become a professional dreamer. And as my profession will be to visit dreamers and help them to promote their dream, their story about their visions of this world that I believe it's so amazing and we all can together make it so much better to live. So, Tony, once again, thank you for everything. We really, really appreciate your contribute to our movement, and I hope you well and stay fine and everything good for your project, huh?
Thank you, Guy. Well, I appreciate being invited to say my little piece about the gathering. As I say, it was a cauldron of opportunity and possibilities, and may it get stronger. Thank you for that.
We
Blessings.
thank you as well. Okay, my friend, have a good life. Hope to see you soon.
Yeah, thank you.
Stay good.
Bye for
All
now.
good. Ciao.
Bye-bye.